It's funny how dumb you are.
Stella has to be the most useless villain in all of Helluva Boss. And the thing is, she could have been the complete opposite. Ooh boy, where do I begin? Yes, it's her time. I think it's fair to say that Stella is one of the most polarizing characters in all of Helluva Boss. It seems like whenever she's brought up, there's a lot of differing opinions and interpretations on who she is and what role she serves. Like, when I made my announcement for this video, there were tons of people who had different things to say about her. And if I'm being honest, I don't understand it. Because it's my belief that Stella had all of the potential to be the most interesting and enjoyable villain in the entire show. But instead, she was made completely useless. But how did this happen? How did such a conflicting character become so irrelevant in the series that she's from? Hey guys, it's the Pink King here, and today I'm going to try to answer that. But before we can do that, we first need to know what the original intent was behind Stella as a character. Stella was first seen in the pilot and then fully introduced in episode 2 Lululand. She was originally intended to be Stolas' foil, his bitter wife who is furious about his affair with Blitzo, and so from then on seeks to do whatever it is in her power to take him out. A solid premise for sure that left a lot of room for exploration in the future, alongside Stella definitely leaving an impression early on, as she is played by the wonderful British Georgina Leah. Nice to see a fellow Brit. She was the textbook definition of nasty. And although pretty cliche, there definitely was an interesting side to her with how she was trying to kill Stolas while being married to him. She wasn't good by any means, but enough for a while. After all, since it was season 1, that was mainly about establishing the status quo and the world, so for me at least, it was fine for her to not be featured as much. But then came season 2, and yeah, it all went downhill very fast. For starters, we get a little more insight into her before Stolas' affair, and okay, that could be really interesting. Seeing how she went from this nice little princess to an evil one would be really cool. But no, she's just always been a jerk who's hated her husband. And then they have the gall to try and justify Stolas' cheating by making Stella seem so unredeemable and unbearable that it was the better thing to do. Wow. And immediately you could already see where the problems begin. They had the perfect route to make Stella an interesting character. Could you imagine if instead of always being a mean prick, Stella was actually a kind-hearted soul before the cheating? That way you would not only be giving her depth, but you would also give the audience a reason to be invested in her, as the reason for her nastiness is a very human thing to happen to someone. But nope, Vibsy Pop and her writers simply can never put Stolas at fault for his own actions and hold him accountable, so they never want to take the risk. They had the perfect way to not only get us invested in her story, but the conflict between her and Stolas. And yet instead of that, they choose to completely ignore it in order to give fan service. That is strike one. By the way peeps, if you're enjoying the video so far and you want to see more in-depth Helluva content just like this in the future, then be sure to subscribe. My goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of March, and we are so close to reaching that goal. We recently just passed 8,000 subscribers and we're still climbing. So, if you want more content just like this, then be sure to subscribe. You'll not only be helping me out, but you'll be helping me reach a goal I've had for a long time. So, subscribe, and let's get back into the video. And for Strike 2, it's somehow even worse than what Strike 1 was, as even though they decided to go down the route of her being just a horrible person, they never do anything with it. Tell me this, when has Stella ever done anything meaningful? When has she actually been what she was originally intended to be? A foil to Stolas. In fact, she's practically forgotten for most of the season up until the end where, spoiler alert, She does nothing once again. She never tries to take revenge or kill Stolas herself, she just pays Stryker to do it. She never tries to outsmart him, as now she's been made to be a complete moron, with the series suddenly forcing in her brother to pick up the slack. It's almost ironic at this point. Stella had so much capabilities of being a great villain, but they instead gave all that potential to the other characters, rendering what potential was there completely null and void. Like Stella's brother. After Stella accidentally blurts something out that she would have definitely known if she wasn't a complete moron, suddenly her brother takes charge out of nowhere and Stella's now nowhere to be seen. She's not there for the Imp's trial, she's not there for the Sinmas fight, she's once again just gone. Again, leaving everything to her brother, who we don't even know. With Stella, there was a reason to care because the conflict was very personal to her. But with her brother, there's no such attachment, so when he does everything Stella should be doing, it feels completely meaningless. Like, imagine if it was Stella instead of Andrelphus at the trial, how much more meaningful that would have been, almost like a villain's plan finally coming together after a long time. But they simply don't do that. And again, the ironic thing about it is the fact it was all right there. Stella's obvious backstory and motivation, her arc for taking revenge and finally beating Stolas, it was all right there on a silver platter, ready for the taking. Now, I know a lot of people think it's because Vivzie Pop's a misogynist, and while you could make a case for some of her other works, I would have to disagree with that in terms of that being the issue here. No, the issue here is the fact that Vivzie Pop and her team simply do not anticipate to follow a structure. They're too busy wanting to do anything and everything else, even if it makes no sense. That's why we get episodes like the summer camp one or the ghost one. It's just stuff they want to do without putting in the effort to make it work. If anything, season 2 should have been mainly about this conflict. It should have been about how Stella begins to formulate a plan with what she knows about Stolas and how she manipulates the powers of hell in order to get Stolas banished. It was right there for the taking. If you want your villain to actually be a good antagonist, then they need to do evil things. But because Stella does nothing and instead lets other people do her work for her, she automatically just becomes a lazy imitation of a villain. There's a lot I could talk about here with Stella, but the reason why I won't is simply because there's nothing else that important in regards to her. She does nothing important, and so nothing important is left as a result. She's all attitude and sass, but none of the villainy and intrigue. Which is just such a disgrace, man, because her voice actress Leah definitely puts in so much character and charm into her villainy. She's so much fun to watch just be a jerk. And so for the writing to not give her anywhere near the justice she deserves is honestly just so disrespectful to her capabilities. And it's probably the biggest missed opportunity of the entire series, as she was practically guaranteed to be a fantastic villain. But because of Vivzie Pop's own ego, she ends up becoming completely useless. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with my opinions here, or did I perhaps miss something? As always, be sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, before we end the video, I had an idea for something that I want to know what you guys think of. So it turns out Helluva Boss's Reddit absolutely hates my guts. As every video I upload on Helluva Boss, there's always a comment or two saying how Reddit is going wild over my videos. So let's do something fun. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you guys want a video where I read mean comments from both my Helluva Boss videos and from Helluva Boss's Reddit. I think it'd be quite funny to just read them and just have a laugh about it. So if you want to see that video, be sure to let me know in the comments also. And with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here, and I will see you all next time.